Welcome to the No Clue Podcast. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Tyler.
I'm Mike.
Welcome back, everyone. So Celtics have won their, is it 18th championship?
Yes, they are now the league leader in titles.
League leader in titles. Back.
That's gotta feel good to get above the Lakers.
Yeah.
I know they're extra happy with that.
LeBron's last one put them ahead, and now Celtics came back. Well, I guess
he tied it up.
Celtics went up. Yeah, Celtics went up. Okay, so we both had
NBA nerds. Go ahead.
No, yeah. So we both were more confident in the Mavericks coming into this finals.
Yes.
Why? Why were you confident? I'll explain why I was, but why were you?
I believed in Luka and Kyrie more than I should have. Mm-hmm. And I was fooled, not because you said it, but like you saying it really kind of validated me thinking the same thing in a different way. Is that Luka and Kyrie are good enough that defense doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And that was an incorrect assumption.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought Dallas would think that and approach the series that way. And that's not really what happened.
Yeah.
Which I guess I should have anticipated a little bit more. But I just thought the Celtics showed more of an identity than Dallas did.
Okay.
Which was very surprising to me.
Yeah. So obviously I did feel that way to an extent, but I mean, I know the Celtics are a very good defensive team, especially for Dallas, but I guess I expected Dallas's role players to keep playing as well as they have been playing. And I know that the finals is a different animal than the regular season. The playoffs, I mean, the finals is a different animal than the playoffs. The playoffs are a different animal than the regular season. But I think the role players have been pretty consistent throughout this entire playoff run. And then they just all pretty much crumbled in the finals. There was really no significant contribution from any of their role players. Then it seemed like some of them were getting hurt like randomly in the games. Looked like a lot of them were tired. There were so many guys missing wide open shots. That was one thing I really didn't expect. And when it comes to Luka and Kyrie, I think they did get to their spots a lot. They just didn't finish. They didn't finish a lot of their shots. And then with the role players playing bad, it's a lot easier to check those guys because they stopped even helping they stopped even going out to the 3-point line to defend the threes. They pretty much just clogged up the paint, and it was a wrap.
The overwhelming difference to me was the difference in depth and how much like Boston's depth is elite on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Where you really don't even have to you don't have to analyze the Jays to realize how good Boston's depth is.
Right.
With Dallas, like, yes, the guys were playing well in the other rounds, but the depth is still like, whether it contributes a lot or not is centered around Luka and Kyrie.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah.
And this is to me where like my problem is where you go first to the role players didn't play well. Like, first of all, this is PJ Washington's first playoff run. The other 12 games that they won and he played well, those were the outlier to me, at least for his first go around.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Derrick Jones had spent a extended career being inconsistent and often not good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the rest of the guys, the bigs I thought Gafford and Lively played okay. To me, I'm not mad at guys. I'm not mad at their role players for not playing well because why? Because Kyrie fucking sucked. Like,
yeah.
The first thing, this is where my first issue with the post-series analysis comes from. The first topic of conversation with why Dallas lost this series is Kyrie was awful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, honestly, you said he was getting to his spots. Was he?
Sometimes. Luka got to his spots more, but Kyrie...
Every time. Luka almost every time on almost any matchup got to his spot.
Yeah.
Kyrie, like, was doing a better job on the better defenders.
Yeah, he was.
Like, it was backwards. There was nothing consistent about Kyrie's game, nothing consistent about his individual game. The only thing that was consistent is, like, he communicated well.
Yeah, and it shows a real lack of aggression difference between the two teams where every time, Derek White got like PJ or one of the bigs on him, he attacked, he went to the basket, or he made something happen. Kyrie had Sam Hauser on him and gave the ball up multiple times. Like, bro, attack.
Or took a really tough shot.
Yeah, a tough jump shot. Yeah.
Like, Kyrie, why?
It was really the way he picked when to go and when not to go was really disturbing in this game, in my opinion.
This entire series.
I mean,
all 5 of these games.
Yeah. The whole series was bad because he could have done a lot more. At the end of each game, he was the one you really felt that he left something in the tank.
And that's where, like, I'm so bothered by the criticism of Dallas, like, didn't live up to the moment. The only guy I thought would have no issue with the moment was Kyrie. And he was the worst one.
He's the only guy on the team with a ring.
Exactly. And he was he looked the most inexperienced.
He did, yeah. Especially for his talent level.
Yes, man. And it's not so much if you want to go out swinging, I'm completely okay with that. That's what kills me, is that not only could he not do anything consistently, he couldn't even go out swinging.
Right.
Like you said, he's swinging it to guys who are not shooting well, who are not making good decisions. And my problem is, as an elite scorer, stop passing them the ball.
Right.
Like, Luka did this to a lesser extent as well, where you're getting a good look every single time. Maybe you're not making it, but you're getting a good look. It's okay. PJ Washington does not have to touch the ball a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not – PJ Washington scoring a lot is not what got you here.
Mm-mm.
This is where, like, the levels really stood out as the series went on. Like, you look at Derek White, and everybody that I talked to about this series considered him for MVP.
Yeah.
And, like, that's not a joke. He literally could have won it.
Yeah, he was my pick for if someone was to win it, it would be him, I thought.
Either of their stars could win the MVP, which they showed. Porzingis showed if he was healthy, he could have won it. Drew Holiday showed that if he needed to shoot more, he probably could have won it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, on Dallas, it's Luka or bust. Like, there was no scenario in Dallas where anyone else was even in the conversation to, like, have enough of an impact.
Yeah.
And that's where the dispute for me, it's like two teams and Boston's better. Dallas is not this, like, balanced all-around team. Dallas is two guys who were unstoppable the whole playoff run.
Yeah, and other guys were just playing well throughout the playoffs.
They helped that a lot.
They did.
And to me, like, they got away from that identity and tried to match Boston. Like, yeah, our depth is as talented as you guys. No shot.
Yeah.
Like, our star players understand, like, how to fit with the team when they're not playing well. No shot.
No, not at all.
I mean, Boston has had years of continuity and struggle and, like, roster adjustment. Dallas has just arrived.
Mm-hmm.
And the class, to me, as the series kept going, I just kept, like, noticing those things. I kept noticing how experienced Boston is.
But I look at it, and this is just different ways to look at it. But I look at the Mavericks kind of the opposite of like kind of how we look at the Bucks, where if the Bucks didn't have Giannis, Connaughton might never play well in a game. You know what I mean? Where how you mentioned how the role players really play well off of how the stars score.
The stars set the tone for anything the role players do.
Yeah, but at least in the playoffs, what had been working for them was the opposite, where the role players were really kind of dictating how easy it was for their stars to get off, especially Kyrie. Luka can still get off either way, but him being a dangerous passer because the role players were dangerous really spread everything up open for them in the last two series. But in this series, they just didn't have that at all. And there was times where it looks like, oh, now the role players are about to start hitting shots. Now it's about to open up more. And like in game 4, that did happen. They played a lot better, and it opened up for them, and it looked easy. But anytime they started playing bad, the stars had nothing. Kyrie and Luka had absolutely nothing when they had no outlets. Nothing. And then once they started sealing up those lobs, blocking those lobs, Porzingis playing back on the lobs and stuff, it was a wrap.
Oh, dude. That was a big thing that set the tone for this series is how incredibly good Porzingis is.
Yeah.
And how often the basketball world forgets that because he's hurt so often.
Yeah.
But that was, of all my predictions this year, that was probably the most correct as far as Boston being essentially unbeatable with him.
Yeah.
But with Dallas, man, I hate that I agree with you, but it bothers me that they went into this series we're going to live and die by our shooting.
Right.
To me, I wanted the game.
That was not good.
And it would have been better earlier in the series because then you're kind of trying to establish that. I wanted the Kyrie and Luka shoot too much. I wanted one of the early games to be not that guys are missing shots, we got to get them involved.
Mm-hmm.
And my problem was Kyrie and Luka always tried to keep a balance. And as the series progressed, I'm like, yo, no, it's not how we're going to come back. That's Boston is much more balanced. They're much more committed to being balanced. Boston's success is predicated on balance. Dallas is not.
Yeah, and the thing is, normally those guys earn a balance where Luka getting buckets, getting to the right-hand layups opens up stuff for those other guys where he can pass it. Same thing with Kyrie, but in some of these games, they were trying to force the balance early, to your point, where it's hey, I'm not going to drive. I'm just going to swing it, and you guys just make something happen. And that's not anybody on their team's game. So they really weren't even making it easier on the players, especially Kyrie, because he, just wasn't scoring. And they were missing so many easy shots, man. Sometimes those guys got into the paint and were just shooting floaters short, trying to get fouled on the shots, whatever. It was just a major lack of, to me, it was a lack of aggression. It's they tried to. It was
it was a physicality problem. Boston looked more comfortable every time the games got almost overwhelmingly physical.
Mm-hmm. They looked like the bullies most of the time, in a good way.
Yeah.
And the Mavericks looked like victims a lot of times, and they played that way. And they argued with the refs, and they flopped on every call and all that stuff. So they played the victim ball, and then they ended up being
Boston
victims.
was earning calls. Boston was also earning the trust to not get called for little ticky-tack stuff. Yeah,
and the one game Dallas was really physical, they won. To me, that was the most physical game of the series for them.
Yeah.
And I think in the last game they tried to bring that back, but they were getting called for the fouls. So, I mean, they weren't doing it the right way. They were, hacking instead of just playing physical ball. And I also didn't like Kidd's use of the bench much in this entire series. The substituting seemed wonky, seems like very random. There's times he had lineups out there where I didn't really see, like, what are we supposed to be doing with this lineup kind of thing.
He also, to me, I wanted to see him kind of press Kyrie and Luka to do other things, not other contributing things, but like manage the game a little differently. You know, maybe instead of the get the switch on the pick and roll, actually look to turn the corner, maybe come down, and if you have a good matchup, don't even call the pick and roll. Like, I wanted Kidd to like help them take a step back and see what's going on, and he never really did that.
Right.
At least it never really looked like it to me.
Yeah, I agree. I really didn't see any strategy from them coming into each games.
It's weird to me how much they tried to get the supporting cast into the series.
Yeah.
And that's for them moving forward for the future, for potentially running it back. Like, yes, the role players can't be as awful as they were. But at the same time, there's no structure to them playing better.
Yeah, this is something we talked about before with I want to say it was the Nets team, so it was another Kyrie situation. But when you have great players, at that time it was Durant and Kyrie we were talking about, they have to get their percentage of impact on the game. They have to get theirs no matter what. And then everything else that comes after that is the plus you get to try to get to your 100% to win the game. So in most of these games, Luka probably didn't give his whole percentage. Maybe he was 10%, 15% below. But Kyrie was a solid 30% below his percentage. Then they expected all the role players to like make up for all that. And that's not how you win the finals. I mean, very, very rarely is that how you win the finals. You have to at least do your part, do your job, and then everyone else has a chance to do their job and maybe give you a plus. But if you're not doing your job, you're the star, you're not doing your job, it's going to be tough. And the Celtics always had someone that did their job. Everyone did their job in their wins.
Yeah. I tell you, this is, and he got rewarded, and, it kind of validates him because he didn't dominate the series and won finals MVP. The approach Jaylen Brown had to this finals is like perfect.
Yeah, I agree.
Physical every game, attack weak links every game, didn't just go right. His turnovers were like actually him being aggressive, not bullshit passes, not driving in like straight into help side. It was just, basic shit. Normal. Yeah. I'm being aggressive and I make a mistake.
Right.
And to me, what sealed his finals MVP, he was the only guy who clamped Dallas's 2 stars.
Yeah, I agree.
With Luka, it was less. Luka still, got to get some buckets, but he had Kyrie in jail. Like, he had Kyrie struggling to dribble. He had Kyrie not knowing where he was on the court. He had Kyrie not knowing where the kick out is. Like, he specifically had Kyrie in shambles.
I mean, even with Luka, he had a lot of strips on Luka.
He was the only guy that matched up well with him.
Yeah, he did
individually.
He dominated. I mean, dominating as much as you can in the finals, because no one like really, really dominates the finals.
No,
but as much as you can in the finals, he dominated on both ends for sure.
Yes, man, and it's just his approach of not really. He came in as a role player. Like he literally took all the role player things he could do well and just focused on that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the only times he was unstoppable is when he usually is in transition. Like, that's the basic stuff that Boston fell back on. Kind of validated how they were long overdue for this title.
Yeah.
And to me, Jaylen Brown winning Finals MVP was very validating for him as a player, I think.
I agree. And we've like 3 or 4 years now, you and I have been team Jaylen over Jayson.
Yes. A lot of people have been converting to that team this year.
Yeah. I think that the flaws, Jason's flaws outweigh his, positives, and Jaylen's he just really doesn't have that many flaws. I mean, his ball handling is suspect sometimes, but it's not suspect enough to really affect the game.
Yeah. And I haven't been critical of Luka, this pretty much the whole conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But his fouling out in game 3 was like unacceptable. That, that's like a stain that now you have to spend years trying to fix.
Yeah.
Because now, like, you showed, even though all year he showed progress as far as how he deals with officiating and just his composure, but to lose that progress in the deciding game of the finals, like, it's such a bad time.
Yeah, I mean, his composure is really bad. It is all season. It is an international play as we've seen, which was kind of scary going into this season as far as his leadership goes. Which I think that throughout the season, Kidd did a really good job of owning the leadership of the team. But when it comes to the finals and it comes to these big moments, if your star has no leadership in him, then this is what you get. You get situations like this. Leadership as far as getting buckets is one thing, but leadership as far as knowing that you're the most valuable player to your team and that whatever happens, we need you out there, that's a different story.
Exactly. And that game 4, he set the tone. What did he have, like 25 in the first half? He was just abusing Drew Holiday.
Yeah.
And it's like that was the blueprint for me once we got 2-3 games into the series. Like, Boston's clearly better. It's down. We're team buckets. Like, that's all we could do.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see more of that. But to me, you mentioned earlier, he didn't maybe give 100%.
Yeah.
To me, very simple fix. He's got to get in better shape.
Yeah, he does.
Like, forget being a better defender. He's got the size to be decent. He's already a better defender than Halliburton. I mean, all these guys trashing Luka. Halliburton, for the 2 games he played, was much worse than this.
Much worse
on defense, and nobody was saying anything. But with Luka, like, you got to get in better shape. You got to get up and down the court more, faster. Like, you have to have more energy to attack rather than just settle.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to compare, but it's the Jokic blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get to a point where, like, you could control the game for the entirety if that's what it takes.
Yeah.
And I think he doesn't have to. I don't think Dallas is going to expect him to be a lockdown defender. So it's not like there's like some pressure on him to be this 2-way player. You just got to stay in front of people from time to time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
so I think it's a simple fix for him.
Most teams' best players happen to be, one of the worst defenders on the team. That's very common. The Kawhis, the Paul Georges, those guys are rare air, but a lot of times it's Steph.
It's ridiculous to be mad at Luka for getting blown by Jaylen Brown. Like, do you not see the athleticism difference? Holy shit!
He's checking all-stars.
That's my problem. It's like the unathletic guy's getting blown by. That's on him, not the help side for never being there on time.
Help side was never there. PJ Washington. There's the whole highlight. If you watch the whole game highlights, is PJ watching people lay the ball up. Seriously,
again,
like,
PJ was really bad. PJ and Derek Jones just had a disgusting final.
Disgusting.
Just so
there's
bro, the amount of crazy shots Derek Jones just threw up. Why?
Yeah. I know.
Why? It's like I understand Boston has all this talent at the role player spots that, okay, they can take bad shots and they still don't. But they can. PJ, no. Derek Jones, no.
Yeah.
Like, if Kyrie's not taking bad shots or swinging it to you guys, there's no way you're taking worse shots.
Yeah.
And that, to me, again, goes back to the identity of Dallas.
Yeah. And there's a lot of times the Dallas guys went way too deep. Like, hey, just take a mid-range pull-up. It's right there. Kyrie, Hardaway, Luka, PJ, just pull up right there in the mid-range. It's there. You don't have to try to attack Horford and Porzingis every time down court. Or
Luka would get 2 to 3 great mid-range shots. And it's like, even if he misses one, it's so easy to just keep going to that. And then they're back to like the layup or three. And by the way, they're not getting layups. So by default, it's just three, brick. Guys, please, can we switch it up? Oh my God.
Right.
And the answer was no, they never did. They never switched it up.
They didn't. Even
in their win, they just played tough on both ends. It, like, strategically, I didn't see a change.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like a desperation, if anything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of strange. I mean, I don't know. Well, let me ask you, what do you think the Mavericks do from here? Do you think they need a roster change? Or do you think it's just
run it back?
Okay. Run it back?
Please, just run it back, and Luka and Kyrie need to be more hungry. Like, this should fuel the two of them much more than anybody else.
Yeah, I agree.
Because Luka should be sick to his stomach right now. Luka had a easy path. If he won this, face of the league. Easy. Yeah. Best player, put easy best player. Maybe he's not actually the best player, but the standard, you're winning. You dominated the tougher conference. I mean, again, the path was just obvious to me.
Yeah. Yep. And then the fact that he just beat the other person in the running for face of the league.
Yes. Handled them.
Yeah. Edwards would have been face of the league, but beating him is huge.
Yeah. But to me, I don't want them to overreact thinking like getting exposed by Boston does not mean you suck.
No, it doesn't.
My problem, like, you don't want to overreact thinking like we need to adjust to be built better for Boston. Like, no. Again, if Kyrie plays better, we have a much better series than this.
When everyone plays well, they beat them by 35. I mean,
I know.
Just the fact that you can beat – I know there's flukes. Obviously, flukes exist in all sports. But if you could beat someone by 35, you can beat them by 10 three more times.
And it was the first two games, even though Boston played much better, were close. And you saw the moment, those close moments needed Kyrie and Luka to just like take over. And they never could.
Yeah.
So that to me is like next year, I want them to be more like, my favorite team to talk about is Denver. Denver goes out, they win or lose by their two best players. When was the last time you said, oh, they needed Michael Porter Jr. to win this game? Like,
it's been a long time.
It's been a long time since they got healthy.
Yeah.
That to me is, I need Dallas to get to a point where the only conversation we're having about why they're winning and losing is Kyrie and Luka.
Mm-hmm.
To me, they're not this like balanced, really deep, all-around team. PJ Washington should not be the reason we're winning or losing series.
Yeah, I agree. He shouldn't be. But if you pass it to him enough and he misses it enough, he becomes it.
Yeah.
But he shouldn't have to be. Yeah.
To me, Dallas has to learn that there's more to offense besides spacing.
Right.
I talked about it all year, how flawless their spacing had been. But Boston, to their credit, and I think Mazzulla was a huge part of it. The coaching staff in general was a huge part. They saw how we're not taking away Dallas's spacing, but we can funnel them to take the shots we want.
Right.
And that to me was a lot of the time, it's like overhelp on the drive. You live and die by the shooting. Because that you could dictate adjusting to that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kept watching Dallas shoot the ball. Like, you could get layups. You have the spacing for your scorers to get layups, for your lob threats to get dunks, for your role players to like attack and transition and get shots. But you're just like, you're too focused on spreading the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And at a certain point, there has to be, even with Boston, I thought was a better example of this, where eventually they got to a point where spreading the floor is not what matters. Putting pressure on the bad defenders is what matters.
Mm-hmm.
Attacking the basket is what's going to continue to open up wide shots.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it was. I mean,
and that included the Jays, by the way.
Yeah, and they still managed to take really bad shots, really tough shots, really bad turnovers. But the thing is, the times they did it right, it was easy. It was butter every time.
Yeah.
Every time they really drove, they either got a layup or they got a good shot off of it. And when they kept doing that, I really couldn't comprehend why they still went into step back threes in people's face game.
You couldn't?
Like, they tried to sprinkle it in there. I mean, I could because I know them, but they kept trying to sprinkle it in there, like just to see how it was going. I'm like, bro, just go to the basket. It was working every time. Jaylen was dunking on everybody all series. White was getting the layups. Even Horford looked good inside and out in this series.
Drew Holiday did too.
Yeah, he did. Drew hit some tough shots.
He didn't really take or make a lot of threes either. Like, Drew was getting a lot of the game too. He was getting a lot of layups. He was getting a lot of like cuts and drives, which I really like.
The threes he did make were really big threes. I think he made one like in the second quarter of the last game that like really shifted
him and White. Him and White didn't like shoot great, but every shot they hit was like the must hit shot, you know? Yeah. Yeah. But there's one name I haven't talked about, and this is where I am biased on things. I don't really dodge that. You know, I think everybody is to some extent. Okay. But in this case, I'm not even going to try to be objective. You as listeners, you could look at this as hate. You could look at this as unfair, I guess. As somebody, I told you, I've watched every finals since the Tony Parker MVP year. Yeah. Which is, I believe, 2007. That's 17 finals, about roughly, maybe 16. And it's not that this final sucked compared to every other one, but that's fine. Yeah. Because Boston played way better, and that's fair to them. Good for them. Okay. In my 16, 17 years, I've never watched somebody win the finals and not validate themselves at all.
The Celtics, you mean?
The Celtics validated themselves. Jayson Tatum. I mean, he gets a fucking pass. Kyrie doesn't get a pass because Kyrie sucked and he fucking lost. And it's a key. Yeah. When you suck and you lose, that's the key reason. Especially as a star player. Yeah. The Boston Celtics dominated this series in spite of their quote unquote best or second best player. Right. And it's this fucking guy, dude. This guy sitting there recreating all the iconic moments. This guy sitting there talking about how all the fucking haters had this to say about him for years. Brother, you didn't validate yourself at all.
You sure he wasn't celebrating the other news?
He was. But this guy talking about how the media has said all this about him. I've had to listen to the media talk about me for years. Why do you think that is, bro? I mean, dude, I've never seen a player not really help the team win at all. And that's, listen, again, this is why I'm not even trying to be objective. I am hating for sure. He obviously did some good things throughout the games. I thought game 2, in the second half, I liked how he attacked.
Mm-hmm.
But my God, Jayson, what the fuck did I just watch for 5 games? Not only did Jaylen Brown clear him as the best player on the team easily, what is Jayson Tatum good at?
Step back threes.
This is why I was irritated. You talk about the Celtics keep going back to the step back threes. It's not the Celtics, Tyler. It's one fucking player. I'm at the point.
Did too sometimes. I'll shoot him some bail. Jaylen did it a few times.
A couple of heat checks. But when you're playing on the other end, I can allow that.
But Jayson explicitly told his team no more step back threes, and then went out there and shot step back threes.
This is why I'm like, everybody's talking about the Celtics as if they include Jayson Tatum. Jayson Tatum borderline played for Dallas in this series.
Yeah, he was whack for most of the series.
Every moment Dallas had a chance to take control, Jayson Tatum's disgusting play was a key reason why.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't understand. There was nothing to his game that even showed he was trying to win, in my opinion.
No. I mean, I think he showed some solid leadership as like a vocal leader and as a steady guy. Like he didn't, yell at the refs or fight another player or start bitching about the fact that he's shooting like garbage relentlessly. Yeah, and when he shot like garbage, he didn't keep shooting like garbage. Like he ended up getting like 8 assists in the first half of this game or whatever game. Like he knew he was off and he did other things.
This is where my hatred is even more passionate, because in the moments he played well, I'm looking at a Boston team that could have won 4-zip and none of the games were close.
Yeah, throughout the whole playoffs, they could have done that.
It's like you're in the finals with the most to prove by far, and he was the only thing that lacked focus in this series for Boston.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else for Boston was like in Mamba mentality, like locked in on who they are, what they need to do to contribute to the team. And here comes fucking, what the fuck are you doing, Jayson Tatum, taking some of the most disgusting shots imaginable, letting Luka Hezzy drive by. By the way, Luka's not an athlete. So if he's Hezzy drive-buying you, you're an awful defender.
Mm-hmm.
He was the guy who relentlessly let Luka get whatever he wanted. He was the guy who still had disgusting turnovers in every game. He was the guy who couldn't establish any aspect of his game. None.
No, he really couldn't.
And I'm hearing if there's a player in the league. Celtics. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't know if there's a player in the league that uses his versatility in size less than Jayson Tatum does. Like, bro, you're 6'9". Why aren't you like your height isn't just to shoot over people. That's not why you're 6'9". You're 6'9" because you can get layups over anybody. You can take it into the paint over anybody. You can post anybody up. But it's not just to shoot, 30-footers over people. That's not the only reason you're that hot, that tall.
Yeah.
But I never really seen him use it any other way.
I was personally disgusted by what I saw. Again, this isn't really analysis. I'm sure, people are thinking like, oh, I'm completely unfair, and he definitely played well in like long stretches, which is wrong, but okay. Especially the long part. He never had a quarter and a half of good basketball. Never. Not once. But again, the fact that like he's part of Boston validating themselves is so wrong to me. It's like everything else in Boston has validated themselves except Jayson Tatum.
Right.
I mean, forget the fact that he wasn't close to Finals MVP. The team looked. They could have honestly looked better without him.
That's tough, but I'm not.
Which again, this is why I prefaced this rant with the fact that it's not objective. But he was the only guy. This is my final way to put it. He was the only guy on Boston who often didn't look desperate to win. Like he was just out there doing random shit.
Yeah.
Which not another fucking soul for Boston did that.
Yeah, I agree.
So that to me is like Boston is interesting moving forward because easy dynasty potential, like easy. The next couple years, if they're serious, can easily be theirs.
Yeah, it could.
And it's gonna be up to the guy I'm hating on so relentlessly.
Tatum?
Yeah. And the fact that like he's so nonchalant with how he contributes in the game. It is what's gonna I wanna root for Boston. I want them to, if they're good enough, to win 3 titles in a row. But the idea that it could be him not being engaged that costs them like a key playoff game, or the reason they lose a series they clearly shouldn't, which is looking back. I mean, the last 3 years, every series loss is extra gross to me.
I mean, after they won this one?
Yeah, because they were this good. Maybe not like Porzingis and Drew obviously weren't in that, but they had the potential to beat everybody they played prior.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I say it every pod. They've been this good for probably 6 years, in my opinion. I mean, I know Kyrie got hurt at the end of every season, but even on the Kyrie teams, they were this good to me.
And my worry is that, like, in his eyes, based on his words, like, I've silenced the doubters. So he's going to continue to play like that.
Yeah.
I want him to be more hungry to be a great player. Is that unfair of me?
A little bit, but I'm not mad at it. Only reason why I say it's a little bit unfair is because, I mean, sometimes those guys just want to win, and that's cool. I don't really like his post-game comments, Tatum's. They remind me of Paul George at his peak post-game comments. But I mean that in a negative sense for those who don't get that. I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe he just isn't great. Like maybe it just isn't there.
Oh, and he's obviously not all-time great, in my opinion. Yeah. But he's current, like for the current NBA, he is great.
Yeah.
And how do I'm trying to like really put it a good way. It's the same. It's honestly the same as Jimmy Butler. They don't play the same, obviously, but it's the approach of like you're almost too arrogant in how good you are at basketball.
Yeah.
To where you're just bullshitting a lot of the time because in your eyes, in your mind, you have the switch. Like you could just flip it, turn it on. But to me, if there's anything, like Jimmy shows often that he has that switch. With Tatum, it looks like he doesn't really know if he's going to be awesome or awful. And a lot of that is just a self-awareness to like do something you're really good at. Stop trying to show me that you have no weakness in your fucking game.
Mm-hmm.
Because all it keeps reminding me is how not perfect your game is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
You know what else? Another perspective that bothers me is how like star players that lose get hated on pretty aggressively.
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine any of those star players like being able to not to really matter how they play and the team could still win?
What do you mean? Give me an example.
I mean, to me, did Tatum's play matter in this series?
His presence did, but not really his play. He didn't really have a lot of impact with his play to me.
And that's such a luxury. Like thinking about that, that's such an insane luxury to have for a star player. I mean, even KD with the Warriors had to cook, or they probably would have lost to LeBron.
Who did you pick for the Finals MVP? Who did you think would be Finals MVP? I don't remember from the last pod when we talked about it.
For if Boston won?
Yeah. You said Porzingis, right?
Yeah, I was hoping Porzingis was healthy, which, I mean, he looked like it for a second.
Well, who else did you say?
I'm pretty sure it was Jaylen Brown or Derek White. It's one of them.
Okay, yeah, and I went with Derek White. But that just says a lot in itself that neither of us picked Jayson.
I don't know, man. I hate how highly he's regarded in the league, and winning it's kind of, people are kind of seeing it in the way I am of he's not moving up in the NBA rankings in anybody's eyes. No, not a fucking soul considers like anybody he was debatably better or worse than. He's not moving up. Like it's still debatable.
Yeah, you're right about that for sure.
I mean, Jokic cleared Embiid with his title, which is a tough clear, but like that full run helped him clear him.
Mm-hmm.
Who's like a direct comparison to Tatum? Maybe Paul George.
I think you have to pick someone like in his age group. But well, I mean, yeah, I guess Paul George. You can say Paul George, but I think he might be too old. I don't know if people.
He's like weird because he's too old to be young, but he's too young to be old.
Paul,
he's like right in the Tatum to me. He's like in his peak prime right now, and he's played for forever. It seems like.
Yeah, I think he's only compared to other people in their prime, like Booker, Edwards, those guys.
Yeah, and I just to me. Mm-hmm. Every other star player that I've seen in my life go into a finals with any kind of question marks, any kind of like something to prove. And when they won that finals, they answered every one of those questions.
Yeah, they did.
To me, Jayson Tatum didn't answer anything. And it kind of makes me mad that he didn't even have to.
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, is just me personally hating. I'm happy for literally everybody else in Boston.
Yeah, I'm happy for Tatum, but I definitely understand all your points. And to me, I mean, the next year is going to really depend on who he is. Because I think that, I don't want to say it bothers him like emotionally or like in a jealousy way, but I think that Jaylen reaching his potential is going to maybe hurt the legacy of Jayson.
Interesting.
Because I think that people did expect Jayson to be the star in this, and even though we've been calling it for a couple of years, Jaylen is the one who is reaching his potential, being better and better, and looking like a just better all-around player. I think that will hurt the Tatum fans and maybe hurt Tatum's growth, because I don't know who we're expecting to reach that mountain now. And if one doesn't reach it, the other one does. What does that say about the other one? I mean, the conversation we're having is it's not that bad because it's the final. It's only 5 games. But when it comes into a season and we're having this conversation, I think that might affect Tatum a little bit. I think we may see Tatum maybe more vocal about it, maybe taking more shots than usual, or having those games. It's tough. I don't think he's as much of a head case as Harden, but I think Harden had a similar moment where, he wasn't an all-star that year, that he just started tripping for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Not that Tatum, I don't think Tatum will ever not be an all-star, and Brown will, but those kind of conversations, like Brown being in an MVP case and Tatum isn't, I think that'll affect Tatum more, because I don't think he's prepared to ever be a Robin, or ever be considered a Robin, or ever be considered the second on the team. I think he looks at himself as the star of the team. And, even in the interviews, he acts like everything is on him. He idolizes Kobe. So I don't know. I think that can affect some psyches sometimes. I think, and they've already had problems before with who the leader is on the team situation. So
I just think Boston now is at a point where they're so good that there's another way he could look at it, where, like, in his eyes, I hope he's like fully invested in if I keep winning, that validates my legacy.
Yeah.
And to me the flip side of kind of me expecting him to be more of a great player is he forgets being an individual player and just does what Jaylen Brown just did, where help the team however you need, get away from like your own individual aspects of your game that are just selfish, which really is just your shot selection. That's it.
Yep.
Like, to me, Boston is so fucking good now. There has to be a level of, like, I don't have to take tough shots almost at all.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, moving forward, like, I really want to see them become fully balanced, fully invested in like, Drew Holiday can win MVP, Derek White, Porzingis, whoever they keep. I don't even know if they'll be able to keep all these guys.
That's the one thing I think is going to be. Well, we'll talk about that later, but yeah, I agree. I would like to see them more balanced.
And I think like Jaylen's starting to set the tone. If Jayson commits to that and that really becomes their full season all the time identity, Boston could have a better run next year than this year. Yeah, especially with potentially everybody coming back. I really don't know about their contract stuff. Are they going to lose anyone? As far as I know, no. Horford's coming back.
Yeah, I don't think they'll lose anyone this year. But next year I think is when it'll be
tougher because the conference will be healthy, but they have the upper hand. Like, they have the advantage. They've obviously are battle tested. They've see what it takes to win now. Like, it's up to the Jays to make this team a dynasty.
Yeah.
I hope they do. Yeah. I really, even though I'm hating on Tatum pretty relentlessly today, the path for that to me is easy.
Yeah, I agree. They have all the pieces it takes, and they have the youth.
Yes.
And Horford is easily replaceable as far as youth goes. So he's not that big of a deal as far as dynasty goes. But they have it. They could do it. Yeah. It's just tough that they would have to be a lot better than they were this year. A lot better.
Yes, especially in the playoffs.
Right.
Like, that to me, they played down to the competition a lot and won, which, like, I guess in hindsight, because you handled the full run is good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not sustainable for you to keep showing your own flaws.
Right. It's not. It's just so many losable games, and you just don't see that from teams as talented as some of the teams we've seen in the past that have won the championship.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to put it.
In the East, I don't know if the East playoff-wise could possibly have been worse than they were this year. Really don't think they could have been.
Health-wise, yeah, it was just the stars literally aligned.
Yeah, I mean health-wise, yeah. I mean, there was games the Cavs were missing 3 starters. The Knicks missed 3 starters in their games. The Pacers were missing 2 starters. Starter in a 6-man. The Heat were missing 2 starters. It's just like it was just a really rough East playoffs when it came to health overall. It just wasn't. That's one reason why the team isn't as validating as everyone wishes they were.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Well, congrats to them. Moving forward in the rest of the NBA. So we have new coaches around the league. A coaching hunt. Lakers offered Dan Hurley a ton of money. He turned it down.
Not enough.
Yeah, not enough. Ton of money. He turned it down. He wasn't feeling it.
Which shout out to him, by the way. That's taking advantage of your circumstance and maximizing your worth.
Yeah.
I want to see literally every person on the planet doing that every time they get a chance.
That, and also picking stability over the greed in that situation. Because now a lot of colleges are giving out lifetime deals. They're giving out 10-year deals. I would pick that over a one and done in the NBA any day. So you get this stability, you get long term, you get better fandom, I would say. I mean, colleges very rarely trash their coaches like the pros do, so I mean the pro fans, I should say. So it's just a much better situation to have. That's what you're used to, and that's what you like.
You can't leave a dynasty mid-dynasty, okay? Beyond the money, beyond the Lakers being historic, even if the Lakers were like a good situation, which they're not, but if they were, you can't. You won 2 and 3, right? Or back to back.
Back to back, yeah.
Like, you cannot leave in the middle of that.
He wouldn't be the first.
He wouldn't be the first, but everyone else who did sucks too. Forget them. Like, to me, especially because in college, it's one thing in the NBA, you're playing with a lot of the same guys. In college, you maybe get 2 to 3 years of mostly the same guys. So to me, if you're keeping a dynasty going, I'd want to see if he could really build a historic, like, dominant run that spans a lot of years, that includes multiple classes. Maybe they don't win every year. That's crazy. But, I mean, UConn's could compete every year. No problem.
Yeah.
They know they recruit well. They recruit, like, to actually play winning basketball.
Yeah.
So they're built for it. I'm happy he stayed.
Yeah. It should be interesting for him moving forward. I wonder how many more times he gets offered or targeted in that way. The Suns have hired Mike Budenholzer. I think we talked about that a little bit. What do you think Budenholzer brings to them?
Nothing.
Okay. Moving on. Charles Lee was hired to Charlotte Hornets. That's kind of a we'll see kind of moment.
Yeah. Charlotte's a team. I'm not excited for them at all. But I'm curious if they start moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I like when the young teams hire assistant coaches.
Yes.
Because I think assistant coaches a lot of times have better relationships with players, and it's a good experience for them to grow with growing players as well. Grow as an assistant. I think he's a pretty young guy. So that should be interesting. Let's see who else. Brooklyn Nets hired Jordy Fernandez, assistant. He was a Kings assistant. He also coaches the Canadian Olympic team, I believe. FIBA team.
You said he came from the Kings?
Yeah.
I would like to see him transfer that identity a little bit to the Nets.
That would be interesting. That would be cool.
I think the Nets, they need to play faster. They need to run and gun more and just kind of utilize the fact that they're young. They didn't really use that from what I watched last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. See, who else we got? Brian Keefe, Washington Wizards' new coach. He had been an assistant. What do you think? You're the Wizards.
It's similar. I told you I like that they stayed in-house because they're such a joke. Hiring a new coach wouldn't really matter.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is they're a fucking joke. So I really don't have any thoughts.
Still on the hunt is the Lakers, the Cavs, and now the Detroit Pistons, who have just fired Monty Williams. Breaking news. After one season, Monty Williams has been fired.
This is depressing, dude. I never root for organizations to like be in purgatory and look inept. But this is like, how are you not as an organization? This like, how is this not just maximum levels of embarrassing? I don't even know where to start with this, man.
It is.
I don't know why the fuck. We had multiple passionate conversations about how inept Monty looks, which I don't really know why. Detroit was like the fact that we talked about them multiple times this year is just weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess it's probably my fault because I hate bad basketball so much, and Detroit is not an inept roster, even though they looked like it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's. I mean, I said this when they hired him. What are you giving him all that money for? Like he's some fucking Tyler. They paid Monty Williams like he was Dan Hurley level good,
and it was fully guaranteed. I just looked it up to make sure, but it was fully guaranteed.
Like why?
So Monty Williams is going to be doing nothing and making $65 million for the next 6 years.
Which is if you thought he would fix you in 1 year, you deserve this. Like Detroit, you deserve this if this is how you guys thought. And I know they've had I think the owner changed or the GM changed. Like I don't understand you showing the fact that you have no direction.
Bro, their tickets were only $5 last year. Imagine how much they are.
Bro, these guys, these like owners or executives coming in and hitting my favorite, the line of like, I want my people in there. I want to get a chance with my people, my picks, like how I construct this organization has been a fucking bottom feeder.
Yeah.
They have been at the bottom of the NBA barrel, not even competing with the other bottom feeders.
Mm-hmm.
And you're on the step of, I want my people to go in the direction I want. Like, how about building any level of continuity?
At all.
To me, like I'm completely on the side of Monty was part of the reason they were so fucking trash. But I also can't fathom who the fuck are you bringing in to improve this situation?
Yeah.
Like, I'd be willing to bet serious money that their next hire won't be better than Monty Williams.
Won't be like a better coach or do better than this year? Like
won't be a better coach.
Okay.
I mean, this year, is kind of a random. Maybe if I thought bad health was a lot of their problems, a lot of their not like inability to build any kind of play style. Specifically, Duran missing. Like, he played phenomenal the first 2 weeks, and then he missed like 2 months.
Yeah.
That really fucked up the year. But if they're healthy, they can win some games even with a worse coach.
Yeah.
But to me, like, status-wise, you're not getting somebody better than Monty.
Yeah, I agree. And they're not going to get someone who's been to the finals.
Who are you going to get that's had this level of experience developing rosters? Like, maybe I have personal issues with what Monty's done the last couple of years. He still has an extensive history developing young teams.
He does.
And you're throwing that away. I guarantee it's going to be somebody fucking random or like a guy we've never heard of before.
Maybe another college coach. I don't know.
I wouldn't like that. But if they get a no-name assistant, or not, no-name is a bad way to put it, but like a random assistant.
Yeah.
I hope they frame it in the like I want this guy to establish his identity. Because that has shown to work. Brad Stevens did it. Joe Mazzulla has done it. The Utah guy has done it. OKC guy has done it. I mean, that's a decent amount of examples just there off the top of my head. So it's possible, but again, just to fire Monty and to lose this much money, like, coaching is not what you're missing, Detroit.
Yeah, it's not.
Again, in my opinion.
No, I agree. It's a lot more than coaching.
I'll tell you a name I would like. JB Bickerstaff. This is a great roster for JB Bickerstaff. That, if they get him, they got a coach that's currently better than Monty Williams.
I agree. Yeah, that would be good.
I'll give him a pass if they get him.
I think Sam Cassell might be in the running also, who's been around for a long time, been on good teams as well. So
you missed another big coaching story, not head coaching story, but a lead assistant story.
Van Gundy?
Yeah, dude.
To the Clippers, right?
Yeah. How do you look at this? Because I'm maybe a little negative.
I look at it as the Clippers putting pressure on Ty Lue. That's how I see it.
I'm with you. I'm on the same page.
Yeah, I think this is saying, look, man, come on. This is your last chance, because we got someone who really wants to coach again, who has good ideas, who is old school, who's done this before, and you're not getting it done. So, like, look, we're putting him. You're officially in the hot seat for Ty Lue,
which is wild because they just extended him.
Yeah, but
like, he was doing a good job.
If the Pistons can drop $65 million.
Oh yeah,
for nothing.
Ballmer has no problem dropping the bag. I'm starting to think Ballmer has a little bit of a loyalty problem of him really committing to his own people.
Yeah, so I mean, if Lue, I think they're saying, look, man, we want you to stay. We really want you to stay, but this is what might happen, and we have no problem giving you that money anyway, but you just won't have a job.
I think I agree with you that this is a bad look for Ty Lue. But I love this move, like, from the organization.
I do too.
Because this is we're desperate to win. We have what it takes, and, like, we need to get closer. It's unacceptable that we're so far away from winning when we potentially have what it takes.
Yeah.
Like, the Clippers are closer to being the Suns than they are the Mavericks or the Celtics.
Yeah.
And this hire, to me, says, like, we see that, unacceptable. So I can't believe I'm like, this is even a thing, but this is probably the only time in history that a team hired an assistant and made me more excited about the team.
Yeah, it's hard for me to see Van Gundy as an assistant either way, because he's so
He's such a prominent voice.
Yeah, and he's radical in that, like, his ideas are usually pretty off the wall, or he's strong in his ideas. So I don't really see how that works as a assistant's role, but I guess they're gonna figure it out.
Yeah, I'm curious how he coexists with Kawhi. Because
Kawhi and Harden.
Harden to a lesser extent, but like it'll be a problem with Harden. But with Kawhi, it's like there's nothing you could do. With Harden, there's like I've seen some level of chemistry between a coach and Harden. And I've seen enough of it to where Harden will like fix some of his mistakes from time to time, really trying to like be better.
Yeah.
With Kawhi Leonard, there's none of that.
Yeah.
There's like, he is the embodiment of selfishness in the NBA right now.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. And that to me, like, I just don't know. Van Gundy's old school, where it's such a clash of generations to me, of Kawhi just saying like, fuck it, I do what I want. And Van Gundy trying to like establish some sort of team chemistry. Which that to me is something the Clippers have lacked, is they don't really have good team chemistry for a team that's been together for a while.
They don't.
And that to me, you know, obviously is a reflection of your leadership, especially on the court. But I'm excited to see this because, again, of all the people Van Gundy could have gone to as an assistant, this is one of the last places I would have expected.
Especially since he was already working with the Celtics.
Yeah. And
they just won, and then he's going to leave for an assistant job somewhere else. Like, just hire him. Why wouldn't you hire him?
And this is completely speculation. I hope he was secretly in the running for the Lakers job, and Ballmer snatched him up. This is probably not true. But the fact that the Clippers are getting better assistants than the Lakers could get head coaches?
Yeah.
Whew, that's not a good look.
I don't think he wanted anything to do with
no, of course not. That's just my personal desire.
But he might have been. He might have taken something, taken an interview in LA, and Ballmer said, well, why don't you come over here, come down the street also. I wanted to talk to you, and that could be it.
Lakers should just go ahead and hire James Borrego. They'll lose with him. They'll blame him at the end of the year. Like, nobody will be the wiser. Like, we get it. You're not serious about contention. That's why you're fucking flipping coaches like candy.
I think they should stack up on assistant coaches and try to, develop one into a head coach, because I don't really know who would want the job at this point. But breaking news also, it sounds like JJ is a quote unquote done deal for the job. So JJ Redick, head coach.
This again, I'm not an expert, so the picture I'm having in my head about JJ Redick trying to coach LeBron James and Anthony Davis. How do you not picture disaster? Help me. Maybe I'm negative today.
Now, what is the disaster for you? Is it the team playing bad, or is it an attitude? Is it an ego clash? Like, for me, it's an ego clash.
D, all the above.
It seems like some people think it's going to be more on the court. I think on the court they might be good, but I think that the attitudes will not work together. That's where I think they'll fail the most. Like, some of the stuff JJ, like I can't imagine JJ having the temperament to coach. he seems cool sometimes and he's calm, but like coaching is a stressful job, especially grown men that all make more money than you. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know if he can handle the attitudes of the players, and I don't know if they can handle his attitude.
He also, for somebody who's like a former player, he is like completely lost in the stat book sauce.
He is.
Oh my God, the way he evaluates everything about a team's performance based on the fucking numbers.
Yeah.
For somebody who literally played is so gross.
It is gross.
And I know he hits the basic like it's not all about stats. Meanwhile, all my analysis is based on the fucking stats.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are we talking about? And that to me, if I've been waiting for the Lakers to get somebody who can actually coach LeBron.
Yeah.
And if you can't coach LeBron, you know what the cascading effect is? You can't coach Anthony Davis.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that to me is why them going for Dan Hurley is them acknowledging what I'm saying. We need a serious coach. We are a contender. Like, we're not putting a fucking random on the sideline. That's disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
And you miss out on Dan Hurley. You could go to JB Bickerstaff. You could go to Van Gundy was a possible rumor that could have been. And I'm just asking for like candidates you're showing public interest to.
Bickerstaff would have been interesting for LA.
But going from Dan Hurley to JJ Redick means there's no logic to your coaching search.
Duke players?
That's what the fuck is that? Like, what do I care about Duke when I'm looking for a Lakers coach?
No, you said there's no logic. I'm just trying to figure out the pattern.
Yeah, like that logic makes me comprehend the reasoning less.
Yeah, I mean, he haven't been serious about anybody that didn't go to Duke, so it's like it is kind of weird.
Dude, how LeBron, you're the second best player of all time. Like, LeBron, again, I cannot fathom how the second best player of all time on his last couple years, I'll play for a first-year head coach. Why? LeBron, why?
Yep. I don't know.
Who did they have success with, Tyler? The one coach that had real experience. Is Frank Vogel an all-time coach? Fuck no. Is Frank Vogel a great coach? Probably not. Is he a good coach? Maybe not. I don't even know at this point. But he had experience.
I think he's a good coach. I don't know why
he probably is. They should. I'm sure he's available.
He'd be good in Cleveland.
He would. But my problem is like, it's getting 17 years of assistant experience is not the same as head coach.
Who are you talking about?
Darwin Ham.
Jaylen just has 16 years of playing experience, and he's the second candidate.
Respectfully, I don't give a fuck about his playing experience.
No, I'm just saying they don't care about any experience.
That to me is it's the obvious, like, this is what we should want. Experience and an ability to coexist with star players.
I wonder why Steve Nash hasn't interviewed for another job.
I don't wonder that. I don't know about you. I don't know if you're joking, but I don't wonder that at all.
The league is just seen enough. There's no reason to call him up anymore.
I mean, to me, like, former players turning straight into coaches is so random, whether that works or not.
Uh-huh.
Like, there's no pattern to any position or any, like, level of former player that transitions either well or poorly. It's random.
Yeah.
some guys, I mean, I honestly, based on the way he played, I thought the natural progression was for Derek Fisher to be a coach. And look how that turned out.
Badly.
Not good.
Now it wasn't even
personal,
good in the WNBA.
He had personal character issues that I didn't even predict.
Yeah.
But he sucked as a fucking coach when he was in the league. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And he sucked at the things I expected him to do well.
Bro, in the WNBA, he caused like a mass exodus from the roster. Like all the best players, every player left the team. Like they had to start over. It was crazy. And they all blamed it on him.
So I'm the hiring former players is a complete gamble to me.
Mm-hmm.
But based on I've listened to JJ Redick over the years. He doesn't talk like a guy who's about to be a great head coach. Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm. He
doesn't talk like a guy who has any interest in being a fucking coach, let alone he's going to be good or not.
It seems like theater at this point for the Lakers.
It's embarrassing, is what it is.
Yeah,
it's embarrassing. Like Boston, look at what Boston is doing. Boston had a guy in the middle of developing a dynasty. He did some dumb shit and threw everything for a fucking loop for the team. And what did they do? They trusted the staff. They trusted the continuity. They trusted the guys they've had. Lakers, can we develop any stability, culture, like anything?
It's not happening.
Until Genie's gone, they're going to be a joke.
But do you think LeBron has anything to do with the culture of the team?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
LeBron is, to me, once he got to LA, and especially after he won, winning is not the most important thing.
Yeah.
And it shows.
Yeah, I gotcha.
I mean, what are we talking about? That's why, to me, it's like I'll be honest. I would be interested to see Monty Williams here.
Monty Williams coaching the Lakers?
Yes. I know I'm reaching for the fucking stars. And it could be bad.
Uh-huh.
I'm desperate for the Lakers to have a coach with some fucking experience. Because last time they had one, they were winning a championship. Well, not the last year, but last time they employed an experienced coach, they won a title.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. That's a fact.
Shout out to Darwin Ham, by the way, back on the Bucks. And they need him. The way they played defense last year, they need him back.
Yeah, they do. Last thing, the draft is coming up. This draft is not supposed to be very good. But who do you think? It's just a random question because we're going to close after this. What team do you think needs the draft the most?
That's a good
regardless
question.
of where their draft.
Yeah, you threw me for a loop. I wasn't ready.
Regardless of where their pick is, just regardless of where the pick is, which team do you think needs this draft the most?
Give me a sec. I got to really run through all the teams real quick because it's tough.
You can give me three. You don't have to pick one because one is kind of tough.
I would say of all the young, up-and-coming teams that haven't started winning yet, the Spurs.
Spurs, okay.
Also, Spurs, to me.
That's why you think they need it? Because they need it. Explain.
I think if they're going to continue to develop, around Wembanyama and build, a winning team.
Yeah.
They have to get guys, specifically with the Spurs, they need to draft guys ready.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, with the draft being not as deep in talent, you should be looking for guys ready. guys that are more college experienced potentially, guys that maybe overseas played at a high level for a couple years.
Yeah.
But I think the Spurs hopefully are looking at this draft like, if we play this right, we could start potentially going to the playoffs next year.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm asking for a lot there, but I hope they have that approach going into this draft.
Okay.
Give me a team or two from you before so I think about it a little bit more.
This is kind of a weird one, but I think Chicago.
Okay. Explain.
When I'm thinking about this draft, because it's not that great, apparently, I think it's going to be better than people think it is, though, by the way. For me, like when it comes to the Spurs and some of the young teams like Spurs, Houston, I think they need to stop drafting. I think they should just trade all their picks for like the next 3 years. I think that, because I think that they need to just start getting. Yeah, they just need to start getting guys that have played and know what to do, and let's move to the next stage.
Yes.
But I think there's teams like Chicago that it's time to, like, let's wrap it up now. What we have now, it's a wrap. It's over. We can't keep anybody healthy. Anytime guys go out, we're pulling guys from all these other teams. There's no one on Chicago was drafted by Chicago. Other than Kobe White, just Kobe White. Anybody else on the team?
Is what's his name still there? Dosunmu? Ayo?
Oh yeah. It's only like his 3rd year. So those two and Patrick Williams were drafted by Chicago. Everyone else is like, a transplant. And I think
signed or traded.
It's time to like build a culture. Levine doesn't want to be there. DeRozan's on his way out. He's in like ring chasing mode. Vucevic has to go. I don't know if Drummond even wants to play basketball anymore. It's just they're a team that I think is good, but it's time to start looking for like, what do we do when this explodes? And I think they're one of the teams closest to the explosion. And they're going to explode, but they probably won't be garbage. But I think it's time to look for, okay, who's going to lead this team after this? Even if it's not like the best player on the team, but who is going to be with Kobe White when we trade everybody or everybody else retires or, we have nothing else? And Chicago was the first team that came to my mind because the other teams, I think, are more fixable, or at least the franchises are like more interested in fixing it.
Yeah.
I don't really think Chicago is, so I think they need to start drafting. And I was thinking about teams. Who else has like the least amount of guys I can think of that are actually drafted by the team? And Chicago is up there for me. I mean, I was trying to think who has less guys that they drafted. I mean, maybe the Bucks.
I mean, it's just the problem for me with Chicago is there's so many question marks around the draft, like that's not even the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Like, please, like they're a team. Let's be honest. If they start 0-7, Billy Donovan's gone.
Yeah.
Like so we have there's so many question marks for them to even, like, if they start the year poorly, Levine might like shut down for the rest of the year, or he might get traded much more desperately than actually by desire.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, DeRozan, like there's a lack of commitment to just competing this past year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's just like an overwhelming acknowledgement from them, their own players, that they suck. The team, I mean.
Yeah.
And that, to me, like in that regard, it is good for them to draft for the future. But like the draft, I can't really picture them getting a decent player in the draft and that having an impact on them not being bad.
Oh, well, I don't think it's going to make them good, but I think that after like like you mentioned, Levine may be traded quicker or whatever. I think that they'll need somebody, even if it's not going to be someone to make them good. But they're going to run out of people on the team because like I said, most of these guys at least act like they're tired of playing professional basketball. So I don't even know what they're going to have at the end of the next season.
To me, it's only have 4 or 5 scary. Guys. Chicago is setting up to be in disgusting purgatory. I mean, they're already kind of in that, and they're like plunging in deeper.
Yeah. So I think you draft for the future.
I'll be honest,
like maybe getting out.
I really wonder if Levine hadn't gotten hurt, would he have already been traded like the past deadline?
Oh, for sure.
Because then we would have had some idea of, are they foolishly trying to like restock, or are they really committing to a rebuild, and are they really going to establish something with the one bright spot, their coach? Mm-hmm. Like Billy Donovan has been the only consistent bright spot since he got there.
Yeah, and it's weird that sometimes you see that he fixes something and it works for a while, and then the players just like let it down. Or like, something happens and it ruins all the momentum they had. It's not always the player's fault. Sometimes it's just an injury. Like Billy seemed like he fixed the lineup issue they had, then somebody gets hurt. Now the new lineup issue. And he keeps running into these roadblocks.
Yeah.
But I think you get stability through the draft, not through trades. And they're a team that is desperate for stability of some sort. Even if it's just someone that just surprises them in like how well they can shoot or how well they can contribute, even if it's not that much, but they need some stability, man. It's bad.
Yeah, I got 2 more teams. Do you have any other teams besides Chicago?
No, you go ahead.
The first team and the second team is a little less like analytical, more just I'll get to that, but pretty much, yeah. But the first team for me is Sacramento.
Yes.
I think Sacramento is a team now. I don't like what they're preparing to do this year. Like, I don't like that they're giving Fox and Sabonis another crack at it, even though they are both regressing, even though they're playing as a duo less and less. Mm-hmm. But Sacramento's like true bright spot the last couple of years has been the draft. Like, they've drafted well. They've found a great combination of like wild card players that turn out to be better than everybody thought, and guys that are clearly ready to contribute.
Yeah.
Like Davion Mitchell, his offensive game maybe won't progress, but like you drafted him to be a dog, to lock up, to just like play physical. And that's exactly what he does.
Yeah.
And they've had guys, come in and out of the team that are either ready to go or clearly fit the play style of the team.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where I'm stuck, and I'll ask you for help, I'm not sure what position I want. Like, if I had to pick what position they should kind of look for.
Yeah.
Because they've drafted, like, with Murray, you're not looking for scoring much.
Mm-hmm.
With Barnes still there and Huerter and Monk getting healthy, you're really not in the mix for wings or guards much.
Well, I think they are. I think they do need a point guard, another point guard, which is really tough to get in the draft because it's such a high risk job. The point guard is.
Yeah,
but I think either getting another point guard or like another athletic center.
Yes.
I think for them.
A mobile one.
They run through the athletic centers. When they use them, they look great, but for some reason they just can't hold on to them.
I want them. You know what I would love to see from them is to attempt to play Sabonis at the 4 again.
That would be nice.
And not change his game. The problem to me is they put him at the 5 and they allowed him to develop like a good amount of versatility to his game. But I think they, as a team, could maximize that if they play him alongside a versatile mobile big.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, that's how it works for everybody else. I don't know why
they're the
ones that don't want to do it.
It doesn't even have to really be versatile. It's just mobile. Like I think it would work with a Derek Lively.
It would.
Just a high motor guy, a lob guy, a guy that runs, that is relentless on the glass. Like, I think Sabonis is smart enough to figure out the spacing playing with a guy like that.
And Sabonis can pass. I mean, him passing really doesn't help when he passes it to guys and they take a shot and there's no one to get the rebound. Like, when he was down there getting rebounds, he was good. He could kick out, get the next rebound, kick out, get the next rebound. But playing him at the high post, top of the key, and 5 out is really not a successful game for them.
No,
to me,
spamming handoffs is not. It's too predictable.
Yeah, especially if your team's not like a really good shooting team. Like if they were a really good shooting team, I'd be all for the 5 out because the spacing, the drive and kick is nice. Fox driving and kicking. Fox isn't that aggressive, and they miss too many shots. They drive and kick and they miss shots, and there's no challenge to get the rebound. Nobody gets back. It's just not like the Warriors can play that game because they're going to make majority of their shots. But
that's why there's like a clash. There's almost a clash of what Sacramento could be at their best and what Sabonis is.
Yeah.
Because that's why I want them to play a little bit bigger. Like, Sabonis is such an elite rebounder, and yet Sacramento is not a rebounding team at all.
Yeah, because he's never in the paint. And
right. So it's you're building the team so focused on spacing, yet you should be running.
Yeah.
Like you should be. It's Indiana kind of came and took Sacramento's blueprint and already made it better
with the player that they gave him.
Right. That's a little ironic, but I mean, it was a good trade for both sides for now.
It was
still. But again, like, Sacramento is going to run it back with, pressure on Mike Brown, which I don't think is the right approach. But to me, if I was wrong and their identity isn't easily exposable, which last year it looked like, drafting a guy or a couple guys that are ready to contribute or like quickly develop into guys ready to contribute, which is something, again, Sacramento has shown an ability to find those guys.
Mm-hmm.
I think could add even more depth to a team that doesn't really show the depth they have.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't really use it also.
I think that's a good call. I completely agree. I was thinking about Sacramento. I didn't say them, but I definitely was in the same mind frame. I think the reason I said getting another guard is because when Fox comes out, they look really bad. I know they try to throw some of those other guards out there, but
Mitchell, he's a good defender. He's a good competitor. He's not really much of a guard, I'll be honest. Just small.
The other guy they threw out there this year, the dreads, ponytail.
They threw out Duarte a lot. I mean, he just doesn't fit for whatever reason.
No, there's another guy that they played a lot in the playoffs. I mean, towards the playoffs. What's his name? So bad for forgetting his name.
Who am I missing? Huerta got hurt, and
Keon Ellis. Keon Ellis. They played him a lot towards the end of the season.
They trusted him a lot too, which is crazy.
Yeah, and he just wasn't ready for that. And the thing is, you could tell when guys really haven't played point guard before. Like, Mitchell and Keon Ellis, I don't know if they have, but it didn't look like they have. And I think they're desperately in need of someone who's played point guard, who understands the responsibilities, who understands that role, that can come in as a backup for Fox and actually do something. Someone who can also get buckets here and there.
I wish they would just take positions more seriously in general.
They need to. They
like
don't
Sacramento, there's a lot of teams that like I understand why they kind of play positionless. With Sacramento, without even fixing anything, if they like really just like attributed the where people are to positions a little bit more, it would clean up their fucking basic predictable possessions so much.
Absolutely.
Such a simple I hope Mike Brown gets this team back on track. I think he can.
We'll see. We will see. I don't have another one. This one is kind of whack, but I think Denver needs a good pick in this draft. Not that when I say need, it's not like that serious, but they need, if they were to draft someone, it needs to be someone that they can play or they can flip immediately, like that has some value and that they can trust, because they do the weird thing of like playing guys all season, and then when it comes down to the playoffs or it comes to an important moment, they just like they don't trust him that much. Kind of how Kerr did with Kuminga.
I was literally going to say Malone is starting to develop some of that Steve Kerr thing of like leaning way too heavily on your stars.
Yeah.
Like when I said earlier, Luka got to get in better shape, kind of like Jokic did, so he could play all game. That's only speaking from a player's perspective. Like as a player, as a great player, you should want to play the whole time and dominate the whole time. As a team, as a coach, like you shouldn't think like that. So you should have a way of being able to play without Jamal and get buckets. You really can't. You should have a way to distribute the basketball without Jokic. You really can't.
Yeah.
And that to me was kind of really what stood out in the Minnesota series, where there's no nuance to Jokic and Murray playing two-man game. There's none. Like even a little bit, you probably win the series.
Yeah.
And I think drafting a guy it's more so Malone really maybe sacrificing some games to play younger guys more next year.
Yeah.
Like I want to see Denver slip in the standings if I'm seeing Peyton Watson out there a lot. If I'm seeing Braun out there a lot. If I'm seeing Najee, I still think he could play. I barely see him, so it's hard to really say that, but I feel like he runs, he finishes, he goes for blocks, like he's a decent rebounder. I want to see what these guys got, or end this potential next draft pick, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. Me too. I think that especially a guard. They had PJ Dozier, who I'm not saying he was great, but I liked some of the stuff he did.
The last time he played for them,
he did, and then they just let him go for. I don't even know why, but I thought he was good. I thought he was having a young guard like him, athletic. He played good defense. I thought that was something that they have been missing in a lot of these games. And I like Reggie Jackson as a player, but maybe it's time to get younger, a better passer, someone who maybe like a Halliburton type that's long but really good passer, gets into the paint, makes plays, something like that, where Jokic can't be the only guy on your team that gets assists. As much as he wants to be like the complete control of all assists, he collects all the assists. He can't be the only player that gets assists. No other team does that.
It's not so much to me. I want other guys to be more willing to initiate the ball movement. Like we saw a little bit of that with Aaron Gordon, where it's like just Aaron Gordon initiating things more. Like it can still work. It doesn't have to be Jokic.
Yeah, that's on Malone. That's not on the players.
Yeah,
because there's no
Malone
way.
And Malone and Jokic have to be a little bit better in tune with adjusting, specifically what they're doing.
Yeah. Yep. He has to say, hey, Jokic running the point isn't doing it right now. Let's go with, let's go with someone else bringing the ball up, being the play initiators. It can't just be one guy
not
initiate every
Jamal,
single play.
because Jamal is too much of a bucket to see the floor all the time.
Yeah. He has to be looking at the basket. But
yes.
They have no one else on the team that really does. And Reggie's not a play initiator. That's never been his thing.
Reggie's really been like, kind of like a Jamal Murray kind of player.
He has, yeah.
Bucket, attacker, scorer. Yeah.
Yeah. Pressure. He puts pressure on the defense solely with his scoring. They need someone who puts pressure on the defense with their pass.
Yeah, and I don't need veterans out there. Like Denver, again, DeAndre Jordan had a good year. He contributed. He helped. Can we get a little fucking younger? I mean, good God.
I agree.
DeAndre Jordan is ancient in NBA years.
Yeah, and with injuries makes you older.
Yes.
Yeah, injuries like dog years to your body.
Like I don't mind DJ sitting there for another year. DJ could go somewhere else, and they might need him to play a little bit more. But he showed that he still could help.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like Jokic is playing practically all game, and your relief minutes are with one of the oldest centers in the league.
Yeah,
who was washed up for 3 years before he got here.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I feel like they could get a little younger.
Yeah, they definitely could. Was that your other pick?
No.
Okay, who is it?
I mean, Denver to me will still be fine if they don't draft anybody.
Yeah, they'll be fine. Yeah.
This to me also is just a personal desire because this team has the darkest future probably going into next season than anyone else. Okay. Even their potential bright future, nobody cares about because it's probably doesn't exist.
Okay.
But the only thing to me that fixes such darkness, I guess, is energy, like in basketball terms. It's youth, it's energy, is guys excited to just compete. And what team was missing that in the Western Conference playoffs?
In the playoffs?
In the playoffs. They weren't there long, so hint.
Phoenix.
I'm reaching because I don't even know if they have any fucking picks.
They have picks.
That's all I needed to hear. Get some fucking, I don't care if it's trash cans. I want guys that go out there and foul hard. I want guys that go out there and get highlight rebounds. I want guys that fucking yell at the crowd from the first and one they get. Like
Josh Okogie's? They don't even play him.
Josh Okogie sucks, respectfully. Like is Josh Okogie better than Davion Mitchell? No. But let's be serious.
They're the same to me.
They're close, but Davion helps a little bit more. His team, but to me,
go ahead.
My problem is Phoenix is fucking they look old. They play old. Just the way they lose is old.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're just so washed up in every basketball sense that to me, getting a Derek Lively would just inject a level of life into this roster. Just it's almost by default, just pure adrenaline. It's you just something to liven the team and to wake up their 3-star players in any capacity.
Yeah, those guys look like they're just playing for fun most of the time. And that's not – you don't want that out of your star players. It doesn't look like they're playing to win. It doesn't look like they have any intensity. The crowd looks like they're falling asleep most games unless the other team dunks on them. That's not what you want. So I'm with you. They do need someone who's a little bit exciting, a little bit dangerous,
there's guys like Cam Whitmore,
Yes,
like
exactly.
not somebody this good, but like a Tyrese Maxey, like an exciting guard who comes out there to cook, even if he can't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, and that to
Cam
me is
Whitmore is a
this draft.
perfect name.
Yes, bro. He comes in and he looks to like kill. You know what I mean? He looks
Yeah,
to eat and just dominate.
yeah, yeah. He's like a You ever see those videos of people like holding a pit bull or like a tiger or something on the chain, but they put the meat out there and the tiger's like going for it, but then they let go of the chain and he attacks.
Yeah.
That's how he is on the bench, just waiting to get in the game and just attack.
Yeah, bro. And as
It
soon
ain't
as
nothing like that.
Udoka started
Yeah,
like giving him serious minutes, he
yeah,
he was cooking.
he was. I'm doing
And
like
it's like
really crazy stuff.
out of sheer confidence. You watch his games, like I can't tell you what he does well other than relentlessly attack.
Yeah,
Like literally, that's it. He would get the ball in transition, not even I'm like he would initiate transition out of nothing.
he would.
Just because he's going straight to the basket from 75 feet the other way.
Yeah,
And that to me is like I just want they had even a guy like Grayson Allen who was aggressive and looking for his shot gave this
mm-hmm,
team life. A guy
mm-hmm.
like Royce O'Neal being in good shape gave this team a little bit of life. He ran hard, he like kicked it quickly, he cut a lot for no reason.
Yeah,
Even Nurkic. Nurkic always trying to be the strongest guy on the court, always trying to like be way more physical than everybody else. Doesn't always work out. Didn't in the playoffs. But
mm-hmm,
it's the like just the hunger.
yeah,
It's that hunger of I've lost so much faith in the 3 stars to lead in any capacity that
yeah,
it's like with Boston, where you force the roster to be so fucking good, we don't even depend on the star player leadership.
mm-hmm.
And I hope Phoenix tries that, which again is just for sheer excitement, not for any actual basketball success.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think every team needs those guys, and not every team has. I thought it was weird. I mean, don't get me wrong. I get that he wore out his welcome in the league, but I thought it was weird when the Clippers let Montrezl go, because
Yes.
that's what he did for them. He would have a vicious dunk, a vicious block every once in a while, and it like injected the team with energy for like the next 3 minutes of the game. But he just couldn't put together a full game of it.
Unfortunately, there's also a layer of that conversation to your point of a lot of these teams could have guys sitting there and we just don't know it.
That's true.
Like there's a lot of situations where, I mean, Cam Whitmore took like 3 months to start getting real clock. Like you said, Montrezl's doing exactly what you expect him to, and for some reason the team doesn't want it.
Yeah.
Or they choose to like overvalue his weaknesses rather than focus on his strengths.
Yeah.
So there is unfortunately a level of like coaching that plays into it. But the
Mm-hmm.
draft, to me, like who you draft still tells us the direction you're trying to go.
It does. Yeah.
And that to me, I think some of these teams we've talked about, I want them active in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to like look eager to improve the team.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the team that just won added the 2 best offseason pickups of the offseason last year.
Yeah, pretty much.
And they almost won the year before, like or was relatively close.
Mm-hmm.
So I love the notion like teams, no matter how good they are, just keep trying to get better.
Yeah, I don't even know why those teams let them pull that off. Like it's kind of crazy. Like I don't know why
And in
Portland.
hindsight, Portland is sick.
Yeah.
And maybe there's a level of pettiness there, to get, I guess, Drew a title before Dame, but I don't know. Why?
Yeah, it's crazy. But anyway, that's it for us today. Covered a lot as far as NBA goes. Next week we'll be talking about the draft, more about the draft, some WNBA, which has been fantastic. Really exciting games this year. Exciting MVP race, kinda. Asia Wilson's kind of dominating, but everything else has been really exciting. The rookies have been exciting matchups, highest viewership ever, stuff like that. Some NFL news. There has been some news that's coming up soon.
It's been a while since we talked football.
Yes, yeah, I'm ready to get back to it. So that's all in store for next week. Thank you for listening. As always, please subscribe, share, follow us on socials, and we'll see you guys next time.